We'll just give everyone a minute or so to comfortably find their way into the virtual meeting today, and then we'll effectively start the session.
I'm hearing the pings, Jesse, people are joining.
Looks like people are coming in, so that's really good news, isn't it?
That's good.
And if anyone else is based in Sydney, you'll know that it is a beautiful day. We've had such terrible weather, so it's good to see the sun out, and yeah, we're definitely grateful for everyone making some time to learn a little bit more about this integration and partnership. But we'll just give it another 30 seconds or so more just to make sure everyone's here. It looks like you're ready to go there, Thomas. Steve looks like he's all lined up. So I think we will jump into it. So on behalf of Ingram Micro, Veeam and Sophos, we thank you for joining our webinar today. Just to make sure that you're definitely at the right presentation, we're going to be discussing detect, respond and recover with Sophos and Veeam. Now, there's no doubt that the world of cybersecurity, it's keeping everyone on their toes. Gone are the days, of course, of organisations being protected by just having the one strategy or one solution, or even just working with one vendor to truly be protected. And that's why we continue to see more vendor alliances and partnerships being formed. And here at Ingram Micro, where I'm an employee, we're very pleased to work closely with two such vendors, that being Veeam as well as Sophos. So we'll be hearing from employees of both of those organisations. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Tomas Vergara, who's the Veeam Distribution Manager from ANZ, Steve Hickey, also from Veeam, ANZ Senior Channel and Alliances SE, and then representing Sophos will be Chris Goldsmith, his title Manager Sales Engineering ANZ. And just to set the tone, if you have any questions, feel very comfortable to post them in the chat. We may be able to address them as we make our way through the presentation. If not, we'll definitely make some time at the end. But with no further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Tomas Vergara.
Thank you so much, Jesse. And again, thanks everyone for joining us today. So what will we be discussing today? You can see in the agenda, I will run you through high level of Veeam, what products and solutions we currently sell, and what type of platforms we support. Followed by what is the opportunity and why this integration is coming to market, has become to market, and what as well are the current challenges that we are seeing in our customer ecosystem worldwide with a lens into APJ market. Then Steve and Chris will be talking and guiding you guys through how everything works, a bit more understanding on the Sophos MDR and XDR offering, and we will finalize with how to buy, what is needed to make this integration work, and finish with some partner incentives that we have going through until the end of June. Again, any questions, please put them on the chat box. So let's get started. What does Veeam do? As you know, we're a data management vendor and have wide support of workloads and platforms that we give our partners and our customers protection. So from the cloud to SaaS, we start by backing up and protecting AWS workloads, Azure workloads, GCP, and Kubernetes with our custom solution. Virtual, for all of you guys that do not know us in depth, we were born by protecting VMware vSphere, but we have extended our virtual platform support to protect Hyper-V, Oracle, Red Hat, and in the near future as well, we are adding more support with Linux, which is very exciting. Physical, we have Windows and Linux, enterprise applications, and then SaaS as an extension of our platform with Microsoft 365 and also Salesforce. What we sell are our strong backup and recovery capabilities, followed by a monitoring and analytics solution to provide you and our customers comprehensive dashboards and alerting systems, so you guys are able to proactively monitor and check the healthiness of your IT environment, and then finishing it by strong recovery and orchestration capabilities to build disaster recovery practices and processes, but also to test them, to automate them, and to report them. So very robust reports for external, for example, authorities and public sector, and internal to different type of stakeholders or executive levels, or even as well to the board if needed. What do we do and how do we do it? We do it by following these three core pillars. So data security with strong features such as immutability and secure restore, and also why are we having this conversation and this session around what else are we bringing to market together with our cybersecurity partners, and Sophos being the first and the most important one of them. Data recovery, recover from a single file to wherever you need it, to full disaster recovery and DR capabilities to recover full virtual platforms anywhere, to recover full public cloud platforms as well anywhere. And lastly, data freedom. This talks around the vendor lock-in. We will never lock in our partners or our customers to a specific data type, and you will always have the ability to move your data as you need and as it matches your business or your customer's business priorities. So what is the opportunity here? Why are we doing this, and why do we want to bring this to market for you? Number one is that we have surveyed over 1,300 big customer base, not Veeam customer base, but different organizations out there, and 56% are very likely to change their backup solutions in APJ. Again, great opportunity for you to have this type of conversations with your customer base. And budget-wise, we know that the data protection budgets are increasing, and we measured it that the budgets will increase by around 6.6% this financial year. Now, what is the most important aspect from a modern or innovative data protection solution that organizations are looking for? Number one aspect is that these data protection vendors out there need to be cyber integrated. Again, perfect integration here between Veeam and Sophos, and number one priority or things that businesses are looking to receive from a data protection vendor. Then followed by other of our core offerings that we bring to our partners and to our customers. But again, number one must be cyber integrated. Now let's touch an obvious aspect about ransomware frequency. 85% of organizations out there are aware that they have suffered at least one incident in the last 12 months. Many of them are not aware that they have been infected, and the average gestation period from when they get infiltrated to when they realize that they have been hit is around 200 days. So again, many companies out there do not know that they have been compromised, and what better solution to bring to them than this integration between Veeam and Sophos. And lastly, another obvious one is that cyber criminals are attacking and targeting backup repositories. So besides following best practices, there are other threats that could compromise a business. And again, the Sophos and Veeam integration will help your customers solve and be more proactive to protect their own data to keep their business running. I will hand it over now to Steve.
Thanks, Thomas, and great job on articulating the Veeam Data Platform and the value we give to our customers and partners, right? So could we just move on one slide? Yeah. So what I'm going to do is go a little bit deeper in terms of how we've got to this point with a very exciting partnership with Sophos. So really, Veeam has been always, security has been involved in how we develop our product, right? But I would say from about version 9, and we're now at version 12.1, but from about version 9, we've really ramped up the security functionality and features that would been within the product. So we came to market with version 9, and we added in the ability to create immutable backups, right? That backup that can't be changed or deleted for a set period of time outlined within a backup policy. And we've added considerable functionality from version 9 onwards, and we're going to go into a few of those when I have a bit of a conversation with Chris. But essentially what we've done in 12.1 is provide our customers and partners with the ability to have a central, what we call threat center within the Veeam backup and replication console. Now, just in terms of licensing, just to make you aware, this is very much a Veeam Data Platform advanced and premium option, because you do need Veeam 1 integration. And when we see the next screen in a moment, you will see that the threat center looks very Veeam 1 like, and there's a reason for that, because it is, all the data is being pulled through. But essentially, it's that coffee morning dashboard to provide you with not only the visibility of potentially where the suspicious or infected workloads are, and that can be across a global map, right? So if you've got multiple VBR servers, you can actually pinpoint which VBR servers has that suspicious or infected data. But there's two ways we're populating this dashboard. And firstly, it's inline scanning of brand new backups as the data is being moved from source through the proxies to the target repository. We're collecting metadata, and we need a baseline here. We're collecting metadata, and we're using that metadata to then analyze it with the next incremental backup. So we're looking for things like the backup suddenly increased in size, or there's encryption in the backup that wasn't there yesterday. And we now have the great ability to be able to not only highlight where that suspicious or infected data is, we can actually react to it, but also more importantly, certainly with our relationship with Sophos, is being able to event forward that to the MDR and XDR and allow Sophos to do what they do best. We're really there to complement, but we can collate data, metadata in terms of inline scanning, but we can also obviously scan existing backups, right? There's going to be many existing backups created over a number of weeks, years, months and years. And we can use the 12.1 functionality to scan those existing backups. And if we can use antivirus, we can use Yara rules. Some of you may not be familiar with Yara, but Yara is the ability to really get detailed and very targeted on what you're looking for. So customers will work with their security teams to say, right, we're looking for PCI information, or we're looking for an extension of a file that is known to be ransomware, right? So what Yara gives you is a much quicker way to get to the end result, because you're being very targeted. And Veeam can scan with antivirus, we can scan with Yara, and ultimately we can automate that as part of our short backup functionality we've had within the product for quite some time. But essentially, like I said, we've been working very hard over the last 4 or 5 versions to really get to this point where we're starting to integrate with great companies like Sophos. So just to go on to the next slide, Thomas, and this is really to give you a feel for what that looks like. Hopefully I've sort of set the stage. And this is what you will see within the console. As I said, this is a Veeam Data Platform Advanced and Premium option, because you do need that Veeam 1 integration. And you will see a brand new tab called the Analytics tab, and it will give you this, like as I said a couple of times, this coffee morning dashboard type approach to the health and security health of your backup infrastructure. And as I said, there's a global map. If you've got multiple VBR servers, we can really pinpoint where those suspicious or infected workloads are. But I think that's where I'm going to stop for the moment, and I'm going to move across to Chris, and then we'll have a conversation as we move forward.
Thanks, Stephen, and thanks, Thomas, as well, for a great overview. So yeah, what I thought we'd do today for the audience is just give a bit of a recap for those of you who may be familiar with Sophos MDR service, or those that aren't, and where that fits into our portfolio. So as you may or may not be aware, Sophos has been a security company for many, many years, and we do cover quite a large portfolio of security products from endpoint through to cloud and email, and including our SecOps, our MDR and threat intelligence team. So when we talk about integrations with additional services like Veeam, it certainly sits within our ingestion of telemetry that comes in through that platform, and then obviously being able to correlate that information and centralize it into a central platform so that you can get better visibility across an environment. You can just pop into the next slide. So we know that cybersecurity is hard. Just as an FYI, Sophos's MDR SOC service is the largest in the world. We've got over 20,000 customers. So just letting you know where we sit in the market. We've actually got more customers just on our MDR platform alone compared to our top 3 competitors. And it means that we have a lot of rich telemetry, a lot of capability and expertise in being able to ingest, correlate, and then respond to an incident if it was to happen. Just jump on to the next slide. We do provide a global SOC service, so it is a 24/7, 365 with SOC centers all around the world, including here in Australia and in Asia. And it is manned. So we've got a number of different teams that sit within our SOC service, incident responders, researchers, investigators, and also rapid response teams, the guys that have hands on keyboard being able to respond to an incident if need be. So one of the big things that we've really strived to do while we ingest telemetry from across the Sophos platform, also the need to be able to ingest telemetry from across a customer's environment, whether it be a Sophos product or not. And one of those key areas is backup and recovery. So, as I said, security is hard. Cybersecurity is hard. There's a lot of moving parts, and it does make it difficult for customers and IT teams to really manage and respond multiple different solutions or attack surfaces that may be within their environment. And if we have a look at what Thomas mentioned, around 94% of ransomware attacks, they go after the backups, and there's a good reason why. Obviously, backups play an important part. Threat actors can exert additional leverage to put pressure on an organization to pay up. Downtime's quite costly to a business. So where we can protect and add additional layers of protection in that is extremely important. The other part of this too is that if we have a look at how backups and most products that are ingested, quite often you're having to manage these out of multiple platforms. But not just that, you have to have the expertise to be able to correlate that information together. So the benefit of partnering with a vendor like Veeam is that we can take that really good telemetry that is produced and correlate that with other sources in an environment. And that allows us to also take additional steps quickly and easily. So being able to identify information that's coming from a number of different areas, quite often when threat actors are going after backups, it's one of the first things that they do when they do their planning and staging. So there's a lot of signs, a lot of breadcrumbs that are left along the way that can identify this activity on a malicious level. But also if we think about on a non-malicious level, things like, as Steve mentioned, misconfigurations, potentially introducing vulnerabilities from a backup. So while we do see backups an important part of that recovery stage, there's also the need to be able to have constant monitoring to ensure that we're reducing the risk on a business. Yep, if we can jump to the next stage. So again, what we have a look at when it comes to backup is common activities, and these could be, again, malicious or non-malicious. So things like backup repositories deleted, unsuccessful attempts to delete backups, encryption or encrypted passwords that have been deleted or changed, things like additional protection layers like MFA being disabled, or files that have been marked as clean that are sitting within a backup. Now, again, what we often see is, as a matter of persistence, going after backups in the early stages can really help put pressure on a business as they rely on these backups to recover quite quickly. So again, there's a lot of steps that threat actors can identify before they gain access to things like backups.
Yeah, I'd probably like to just add a little bit to this as well, because you make an extremely important point that the attackers are going after the backups, right? Once they've compromised your backups, then they can go after the rest of the environment because they know that you can't recover, right? So having this feature-rich enterprise-grade data protection solution and having the likes of MFA and having encrypted backups and making sure that in the event that you're attacked, because clearly the numbers show that it's not a case of if, it's definitely when you're going to get attacked, right? So if you know you're going to get hit, then you set up accordingly. So obviously one thing is buying an enterprise grade solution with Veeam, with Sophos, and actually setting yourself up that way. But there's also the other side, right? It's your security posture as a whole. Because I've seen so many customers where they buy enterprise grade solutions, right? Let's take Veeam, for example, and then they put Veeam, the infrastructure, on the production domain. So you've spent all this time and effort with a high feature rich product that's going to get you back into business very quickly and can really bring down, as we know, businesses, RTOs and RPOs are coming down, and Veeam can provide that recovery. But if you're putting Veeam on the production domain, you're putting yourself, your posture, your security, if we think about Essential 8 and things like that, your maturity isn't there. So one thing is product, the other thing is general best practice, right? Making sure that you've set up yourself so you've got, for example, the backup server in a DMZ, the console in a management domain, Veeam One in an audit domain, and then having your repositories, which is the crown jewels, right? The data in a restricted domain. So to get access to that, you need access to the other three domains. So I just wanted to be clear that product is great. And our feature set is second to none, as well as it is with Sophos. But having that maturity and that security posture to make sure in the event or when you get attacked, at least you're giving yourself the best chance to recover because you've set yourself up right.
Yeah, and I would agree with that wholeheartedly in the fact that we do see prior preparation. Prevention is best, and not leaving it until the last minute when you need, or it's a critical moment to recover to backup, and all these other signals and information's being missed. So we want to obviously get in as early as possible, early detection, and it's often said visibility. You can't protect what you can't see. So again, having the best tools in place doesn't necessarily replace the expertise, and being able to manage those tools effectively. And again, when we start to see how simple the solution is that works together, we integrate extremely well, and we work quite closely with the Veeam team to help protect that, and also work with businesses to ensure that continuity. So you're getting the best of both worlds, which is great. And the fact that, as I said, cybersecurity is getting hard, and doing this on a large scale is becoming more and more important, where we're seeing the lack of resources, the lack of expertise, which is hamstringing. Thomas mentioned that the average time of a threat actor is around 200 days. There's a lot of damage that they can do in 200 days before an attack is launched and a customer's aware of what's going on. In that process, they've lost their backups, they've lost access to their AD. There's many different things that are going on. Yeah, so if we can kick to the next slide.
Let's go. All right, thanks. Yeah, go for it, Chris.
No, I was just going to say it's super simple. Again, although cybersecurity is hard, we want to make sure that partners and customers are able to simplify their life. And one of the ways that we can do that is through that integration. It's very simple to set up. And I'm sure, Thomas, you'll go through how that's actually purchased.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Chris and Steve, for your really insightful conversation. What I take as a summary or a key takeaway is that we need to be able to prevent cyber attacks. This whole integration is meant to provide a peace of mind for you, mainly for you guys as managed service providers out there, to your customer base, to move from a reactive approach, when this happens, what do we do, to a proactive approach. We know that this will happen, and we know that we are protected by market leader vendors out there. So a lot of value to bring to your customer base, and as well a lot of potential revenue and profit opportunities for you partners to build additional services and offerings on top of this. So how do you buy or procure this integration? So basically, for existing Sophos MDR and XDR customers, you have an integration add-on that you can procure, of course, through Ingram Micro. From a Veeam perspective, as Steve mentioned before, you need your customers to be either on the advanced or premium product set, which is the Veeam One tool. This allows the Sophos solution and the Veeam solution to talk and to share data amongst each other. Hope this is very clear. If you need any more information or clarification on either solution, please reach out to your relationship manager or to your account manager, but also to our Sophos team and to our Veeam teams at Ingram Micro. And before we finish off and review, if there's any questions out there, we have a partner incentive that is running until the end of June, the end of this fiscal and financial year, where we will reward you for the first 4 MDR integration packs closed within this time frame, $250 voucher or gift card, and also from a deal registration and pipeline and identification perspective, we will give a slight bonus here for those first 10 approved deal registers of $50 each. Look, again, this relationship is just starting. Thank you guys as well for joining us today. We will continue to invest in this partnership, so please expect more from us, and as well, don't expect more from us. Please ask us what would you like to see and what as well makes sense to your business. And if you want to have a joint conversation with Veeam and Sophos to understand how we can work better with you guys, we will be more than happy to support that and work together to identify growth opportunities and to bring value to your and our joint customer base. So let's move into the questions. Not sure, I don't have visibility if there's any popped in there, but are there
Q&A tabs looking pretty quiet? Either we've done our job
and
very
how about
well,
the chat box?
All right. Well, maybe we can kick it off with a couple of questions that were received in some previous sessions. Maybe Steve and Tomas. I know there was one that was raised around what are some of the common things that you're seeing around backups that are challenges for customers, particularly?
Yeah, the one that comes immediately to mind for me is the ability for customers, and this is non-Veeam customers, right? Where they've taken a backup, but there's no testing of that backup, right? How do you know that in the event of a restore, that backup's going to work? It's a bit of a fingers crossed moment, right? And that's very much comes back to what our best practice is. We've got 3, 2, 1, 1, 0, and I'll quickly go through it. 3 copies of data, 2 different media, 1 offsite, 1 immutable, and I touched on immutability, that copy of data that cannot be changed or deleted for a set period of time, right? Outlined by business requirements. But it's all well and good having it immutable, but how still it could have ransomware. You've got it immutable, but it's got ransomware in it, right? So for me, the 0 is the most important part of the whole piece. It's that ability to be able to, yes, take a backup, but then say, right, I'm going to spin that up into an isolated area, into a sandbox. I'm going to do a ping test, a heartbeat test, an application test. I'm going to run some antivirus or a Yarrow rule, and then produce a report notification to the set of people or individuals that need to see it. But certainly, in my experience, that's going to make people sleep much better at night if they know that at 2 in the morning, when everything goes pear-shaped, my recovery and my RTOs firstly are going to be hit, but also the data that's being recovered is clean because I've tested it and I know it's working. So in the interest of time, I would probably say that is the big one, right? Making sure that the customers struggling with that bit, and with a Veeam solution, you certainly are going to be able to address that.
Yeah. And I think also from just as you mentioned, it's not just around the products, just the process and incident response plans, those types of things. So from a managed solution, what we see is similar sorts of challenges is having plans in place and verifying those before there's an incident or before there's an action that requires. And again, this may not necessarily, everyone tends to lean towards a malicious act. It could be, misconfiguration. So again, coming back to what you were saying about verifying backups, if someone has made an innocent change but created risk, and that's been backed up over time, the last thing you want to know or find out, apart from not being able to back up, is that you're introducing or reintroducing risk. So again, centering around the expertise of being able to manage this, it's becoming complex because it's not just about firefighting, putting out fires. It's also about how do we future-proof, how do we protect, how do we get a positive posture management, both for security purposes, but potentially even things like certifications or governance and risk management as well.
You make a really important point there as well, because yes, we've got the external threats, and they're there, they're real. People are getting hit by them. But internal threats are very real as well, right? Whether it's a rogue admin, or more important, you touched on it, more commonly, it's an accidental deletion or change that the person who did it didn't really realize what the implications of that change was. So, and that's another functionality we've added in 12.1 is what we call four-rise authorization. So if there is a change that's on the sensitivity list, then yes, you can make it if you've got backup admin privileges, but a second set of eyes has to approve or reject it. And that really closes the loop on that internal threat as well. So yeah, really important.
And I can see there is a question coming through. I think, I'm not sure, Steve, if you want to take that one or Thomas.
Let's have a look. What is the next for Veeam backup application to make it more palatable for SMB space? It's an interesting one, because really we were born in the SMB space, so I'm quite interested to know what you mean by palatable, I guess. It's we were born in that space, even though we are enterprise grade solution, right? We don't change we don't move away from our roots, right? And we will provide a solution, whether it's SMB, commercial, enterprise. We can scale, we're software defined, we're storage agnostic. We can work with what you have. So in terms of it being more palatable, I'd be interested to know a little bit more detail if you want to put that in the chat as to a little bit more context or a little more detail. But yeah, look, regardless of size of customers, we can certainly scale from the smallest to the largest of organizations.
I can add something there, Steve, so that we didn't touch before. So, well, you mentioned it, but we do have a specific entry-level pricing for SMB. The bundle is called Essentials, so Veeam Data Platform Essentials, which is a reduced pricing. So that's on the resale model. If we look at the managed service provider model or the VCSP, we have a pointing system, which basically you pay for what you consume, and then you offer those additional services to your customer base. And then we have a third offering, which is through our white label partners, which are reseller ready, which means that they do not sell to customers. Everything that they sell to partners for you guys to leverage their IaaS, their backup as a service, their DR as a service offerings for you to white label and bring to your customer base without the need of you building up Veeam infrastructure and managing everything. So you can leverage their compute, their resources, and you just white label those services to your customer base. And then lastly, we have just announced Veeam Data Cloud, which is exactly what I mentioned, but not hosted, but managed and serviced by Veeam. So we started with 365 as a service. We have Azure as a service, and we will be including more workloads as well in this additional option that we're bringing to you, our partners.
Yeah, great info.
I'll just make a bit of an observation there as well. When it comes to the security landscape and cybersecurity, there is no SMB threat actors. There's no enterprise threat actors. You know, all businesses are being treated pretty much the same as opportunistic and targets. We see, you know, quite often in the news and the media, the big headlines, the big companies that get breached. But, you know, those same threat actors also make a lot of money from SMB. So it's interesting, you know, around the technology, especially in that space, where we talk about, you know, different levels of security and practices. One of the biggest challenges, how do we get parity across that? You know, being able to provide the protection levels, the detections, and again, it's what you can't see is you know, it's hard to protect. So yeah, it's interesting when we look at how that is broken into pieces. You know, there isn't really an SMB security type functionality or an enterprise security functionality. You really want the best of breed. You want to be able to protect, you know, no matter whether you're a 5-seat organization or a 1,000-seat organization. The principles, and again, going back to what Steve mentioned, are the same. Good hygiene, good practices, visibility is key when it comes to that. So I think I'd say factor that into, obviously, when we speak about, you know, solutions being palatable. I don't see any other questions. Unless
nothing else. Right, Jesse, do you want to say a few final words before we finish off for today?
Yeah, why not? There is a little bit further there from Lenny, and I note that we do have some time. The question is more specifically related to supporting the community edition. So right. I don't know, Thomas, if that's something that you're able to comment on. It's certainly not something I have any further insight into.
Yeah, I will need to find out what else are we bringing on the community edition. I know that, yes, we have free licenses capped at a certain level with certain functionalities as well. Sure. And support-wise, it's basically email support, so there's no 24/7 or phone support. But I will, let's look into that and see what else we have available in there.
Yeah, no worries. So definitely, Lenny, I'm happy to have a chat with you on that. I work with partners, small, great, and massive. So more than happy to give some insights on how we're working with partners and seeing them grow, particularly around the backup as a service offering and seeing what Veeam Data Cloud is able to do for organizations as well. It's really, really exciting. So again, I guess on behalf of Ingram Micro, Veeam and Sophos, taking some time out of your valuable workday, we know that we don't take that for granted. So you'll be hearing from us to see if there's any further follow-up, but by all means, feel free to contact either one of the vendors or directly us at Ingram Micro, and we'll be more than happy to help you to grow your product lines. Thank you very much for attending again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.